my first stream, I did a test stream the night before, and I didn't promote it at all. Literally didn't promote it. Didn't want anyone literally didn't want anyone in there. And there was like about 200 people or something
Holy cow.
for about half an hour. And then I stopped it. I just wanted to see sort of thing. And then the day when I decided I wanted to go streaming, I was literally so nervous the entire day. I was sort of like bricking it the whole
Oh
time.
no.
But that first stream, I had 13,000 people watching.
Holy crap.
So it was like, it's not your normal stream that you have. And I didn't have any mods.
Oh dear Lord. Welcome to Tarducks, a podcast for content creators to come on and share their stories, advice. And today,
Thank you for having me. Thank
you're
you.
welcome.
Appreciate
I
it.
have Anne. And Anne is also known as Mamabenjyfishy.
Correct.
Yes, all right. Well, thank you for coming to do the pod today. Really appreciate it.
It's my pleasure.
Excellent.
Really, really pleased to be on the podcast.
And what we do to start things off is just 3 random questions. So are you ready?
Mhm. Go for it. Go
All
for it.
right.
Yeah.
Favorite place you ever traveled to?
That's fairly easy. Bali. Bali.
Okay.
I love Indonesia.
Oh, nice. All right. And when you're flying, are you an aisle person or a window person?
I prefer the window.
Yes, same here.
Prefer the window.
And favorite thing about where you live?
Oh, being by the river.
Yes.
Absolutely. And the community. So we live on a little river island.
Mm-hmm.
So like surrounded by the Thames.
Oh,
but
nice.
it's sort of like very much community based. So like knowing everyone, sort of, yeah.
Okay.
That is brilliant.
Awesome. All right. So going over sort of, you're a streamer, content creator, esports, consultant, author. Why don't we start with, who is Anne before all of those things? What's your background?
Okay, so I mean, I've been always like worked for myself, sort of like self-employed, right the way from the early days of like when I was 17.
Yeah.
So I used to, when I was 17, I went to work for a company, a recruitment company that ran an organization called Rent-A-Grad, which was Rent-A-Graduate. And that was like a house and garden maintenance service. So I originally started doing actually just general work for them.
Yeah.
And then ended up running that. And organizing all the students and all the work and everything. And then from there, I then went into more accountancy.
Mm-hmm.
So went and did sort of like the bookkeeping and all of that sort of side, which has been coming very useful because I look
Absolutely.
after all the books. And then, so even though I was doing that, I was still doing like recruitment and things on the side. I've always been a bit of a workaholic.
Yeah.
I sort of like tend to work 7 days a week, 15 hours a day. That's sort of right from the age of like 17.
Oh, shoot.
It's just part of who I am, really. So, yeah, definitely a workaholic. So whichever company I work for, I've always worked long hours, and also been juggling more than one job and things like that and whatever. And then from the bookkeeping side, I then decided to run my own business doing computer training.
Okay.
So I used to have a full-time job and then used to come home at 6 o'clock. And then from 6 to 9 used to do computer training. But this is in the days of Windows 3.1 and WebPerfect 5.1. So very early days of computing, sort of like the old 286s and 386s. So not many people used to know how to use the computers, and they wanted to know how to use WebPerfect
Oh, God. Yes, that brings back
Microsoft
memories.
Word and Lotus 123 and that sort of thing. So I used to do private tuition from like 6 till 9 in the evenings, and then also all day Saturday and Sunday. So like started that like a small business, and then grew that to the point where I could actually stop my full-time job and run that full time. So then took over. So I was running that from the house initially, and then went and took on offices locally in Shepperton where we live. And then my husband David came on board, and he always came from a corporate background,
Okay.
corporate sales background. So then he took that to the corporate market. So we then grew it. We used to have, probably about 6 or 7 training rooms in different locations in London at some offices, and into management training. So I did a lot of the computer training initially, like Microsoft Office, and all like WordPerfect Smart Suite, making it all the way to sort of like advanced level, and then sort of took a back seat and was doing more the admin and organizing and just running the whole thing really.
Yeah.
Whereas David was all the sales sort of side. And then we sold that business. We also did some recruitment in as well into the telecoms industry, because that's where David was. And then we sold the company. Sadly, for various reasons, we never actually got them the full money that we should have got from the business. So that was a bit of an issue. And the telecoms market had nosedived at the time, had sort of like crashed due to various things going on in the stock market. And so someone said, why don't we go into lawyer placements, recruiting lawyers, which we knew nothing about. But we went into that lawyer group, but mainly on the high end partner level lawyers with followings. So like had maybe £1 million following, that sort of thing, sort of like, so not your normal sort of lawyer. And then sadly, David got ill. And David was always a salesperson. I was always like the person behind the scenes, sort of like doing all the research and the recruit, etc.
Yeah.
And so sadly, we couldn't work anymore or anything like that. And one thing led to another. And David sadly passed away.
Oh, no.
Didn't have any life insurance or
Oh,
anything.
shoot.
Almost lost the house and
Oh,
virtually
wow.
homeless sort of thing. So then I had to then go back and find something to do. So I sort of like went back to my roots, which was doing like bookkeeping. So I found a job that I was doing that for like, I was with the company for like 15 years, doing that. And I wanted to go more into AV engineering. So I started doing some courses on that, like Cisco courses and networking and things like that, because I always enjoyed doing that when I was doing the computer training side. And then obviously during the time when I was working with them, that's when Benjy, it was like the whole World Cup thing, and like Benjy signing with Energy, etc. And so he then started traveling more.
Yeah.
And with Fortnite, it's very difficult to actually plan anything, because events aren't sort of like, you don't know 6 months ahead what's going to happen. Literally you get, it's a bit like the dream hack for San Diego. We got like 3 weeks notice or
Holy
something.
cow.
3 or 4. You don't get that much notice necessarily. And so therefore I was doing quite a lot of traveling. I'd stopped doing the bookkeeping, and I was running an AV help desk for the company, which needed like fast turnarounds. And when customers phone in, you need to respond within 2 hours or 10 hours or whatever their contract is. And obviously the fact that I'm traveling, maybe like I was at the AO Summer Smash, or I went to Tokyo, I can't then be trying to phone engineers while I'm in Australia saying, we've got this client, can you go out? Do you see what I mean? It just didn't work very well. So I made the decision to stop that job, because the traveling and just the managing and looking after Benjy just didn't work.
Oh,
And
wow.
then my idea was I was going to work for some of our freelance contractors, doing sort of like more the AV side, which is what I wanted to sort of like get into, like the engineering side. But then COVID hit, and a lot of because all the companies weren't going into their offices anymore and whatever, so that never happened.
Yeah.
And then was like thinking, what do we do? And so I was somehow sort of like started playing Fortnite, and sort of like did the whole, like, I spoke to Johnny, who's Mr. Savage's dad,
Okay.
and we were talking, ideas that maybe doing some sort of like consultancy mentoring type of thing, and that it would be quite cool to do some books. And so that's how it
Oh,
all
wow.
sort of like came about.
Oh, very cool. So, I'm of the same era as you when it comes to the computer. So, like, back then,
Mm.
I don't know if you were dealing with the 5 1/4 floppies or the three and
Yeah, yeah,
oh
yeah,
my
yeah.
God.
5 1/4 and the dual floppy disk drives.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah,
The kids today don't know
yeah.
how easy they have it when it comes to the computers, do they?
Oh no, I mean, I remember I say to some of my my friends that a lot of my friends are just like 15, 17, 18-year olds.
Mm-hmm.
And you talk to them, and I was saying, like, the first time I made a phone call from a computer, or I remember getting an encyclopedia where you could actually watch and
Yes.
it was like, oh my God, you can actually do this.
Yeah.
It was so revolutionary in its day.
Yeah. Because, when we were growing up, the encyclopedia, you needed to find any information. You had to go through the 24 books to
Oh,
dig up.
yeah,
And
yeah.
yeah,
I'd
absolutely.
have to go to the library and
Mm-hmm.
literally go through the books, handwrite it all, or
Yeah.
try and get a photocopy. Yeah, but you
Oh,
couldn't do
God.
that. Yeah.
Absolutely. All right. So why don't we start with the parenting side first, and we'll go through
Mm, yeah.
So when Benjy was, gaming, when did you know, something special was happening there from a Fortnite standpoint, and he had this potential?
Yeah. I mean, Benji's always been good at. He's always been into gaming the whole life. So Charles is like 7 years older than him, so he's always followed his brother to a certain extent. So he was playing all those games that you shouldn't be playing when you're like 7 or 8. Sort of like Call of Duty and all those things. Um, but and I always knew that he wanted to be a professional esports player. He's always said that right from a very early young age. And he used to watch things like the League of Legends champions and the whole thing like that. But I didn't really pay too much attention to it, and I never really appreciated how good he was at the game.
Yeah.
So back in February, March 2019. I think it was about that. He had teamed up with Mr. Savage as his duo at that time and was duoing with him. And at that time, the age limit for Fortnite to compete was 16. It
Oh,
wasn't
okay.
13, it was 16. And so there was a lot of frustration from Benjy thinking, I'm never going to be able to do it because the age limit is so much higher, and all these competitions that he wanted to do, he can't do, etc. But it all happened in the space of 1 week. So the Benjy and Miss Savage were doing a tournament called the Montana Black, and it was a Sunday evening, and I hadn't bothered watching it. I'd gone to bed. Didn't I mean nowadays I would sit and watch it and things, but I didn't watch it and then went to bed because I had to get up at like 5 in the morning to
Mm-hmm.
try and get me to school. And he came in and said that they'd come first and that he'd just won $10,000.
Oh my God.
So that was pretty insane. And sort of I remember texting Charles and saying, "Oh my God, he's just won 10,000 from this tournament." And then they went on to win another tournament that same week.
Yeah.
And that week, they also announced the World Cup. So we'd already been in talks with Energy because about him joining them because Martin was there. But then that week, the World Cup got announced and the age limit got reduced from 16 to 13.
Oh, wow.
And then he got about 5 or 6 orgs approach him that were interested in signing him. So it was really at that point that sort of you think, oh my God, okay, maybe there's something in this or whatever.
Yeah.
And so yes, we there was a couple of orgs, but yes, we ended up going for energy.
Yeah.
Which
Wow.
been brilliant orgs. Whatever, they've been amazing. Brett, who was there, and yeah, so we signed with them, and then there was the qualifiers for the World Cup shortly after that, which was 10 weeks of 10 weeks of what's it, qualifications.
Yeah.
So 5 weeks of solos, 5 weeks of duos. So first week, Benjy actually qualified for solos.
Shoot.
Was like quite insane, really. And then second week he qualified for duos. So I think him and Stompy were the only 2 players to qualify in the first 2 weeks. So yeah, and then it sort of like snowballed from there. Really.
Holy cow! Now, did you have any idea, like, this much like, him winning that first tournament was even possible for these kids, and same with esports?
No, I had no idea. And like when he qualified for duos and solos, you were guaranteed $50,000 each.
Holy
so
cow.
he was guaranteed, like, well, as long as he went there, sort of just for participating in the World Cup was like 100,000.
Oh dear
So
Lord.
it was like at the age of like 15, that is serious money, sort of thing.
Yeah.
Like, sort of insane.
And back then, I say back then like it was tons of years ago.
It's only like
like 4 or 5 years, or I guess 4 or 5 years ago. But there probably wasn't a whole lot of resources for parents to sort of navigate that world, that space.
just wasn't anything. I mean, I was very fortunate that I was I was with Johnny, so Mr. Savage's dad, who had been there before me, like a few months before. So Martin was already quite big or quite well known in the scene and was doing really well. And so we went over to see them just after Benjy had signed. And he was explaining to me, all the things that they'd done, and just thinking about it as a business, about branding, about the whole concept. And it was like, I remember coming away thinking, oh my God, this is, even though I come from a business background and I've run my own business and understand the whole thing, it was like, oh my God, this is just so much bigger than I even thought it would be. There is just so much else involved in it than just someone just playing Fortnite.
Absolutely. Now, had he been streaming prior to start of getting that fame in the competitive Fortnite scene?
Not really. No, he'd done odd little stream. He was doing some stream, but he wasn't doing face cam.
Yeah.
Wasn't doing face cam. Did a bit of streaming. I don't even think maybe he did mouse cam. I'm not even sure. So he did a little bit of streaming, but not his first. When we went to World Cup in New York at the Helix Center, he did with Miss Savage a thing for Solary, and that was his actual first face cam that he ever did. So yeah, at that point, and then sort of like from there and after World Cup, it was like he felt more confident to be able to do the streaming and the face cam.
Okay, so now when he burst in and said he won $10,000, and now things are changing. How was balancing his school and now this new fame and this wonderful opportunity that came about?
That in itself was really hard. So I've always been an advocate of education.
Yeah.
That has been like oh my God, that has been the main sort of like focus, give them good education, get their qualifications, go to university, the whole thing.
Yeah.
And then, and, getting them into good schools, etc.
Mm-hmm.
And so obviously I appreciated the fact that Benjy needed to compete. He'd qualified for World Cup at this point. He was signed with Energy. I wanted to give him the best chance possible to actually compete at the same level. So talking to like Charles, who understood perhaps esports a bit more than I did at that time because, he was younger and in the scene. Um, like a lot of these players are practicing like 10, 12 hours a day. And it was like Charles saying, well, if he is going to compete at the same level, he needs to be practicing and being able to do that at the same level, or else he's going to be at a disadvantage before he even gets there. And so I did go to the school and I tried to see whether there was any possibility of reducing his timetable.
Mm-hmm.
Whether there was a possibility of giving him time out so that he could practice. Because they used to do like tennis camps, they used to do golfing camps for their, people.
Right.
So they would do like every term, like a 2-week tennis camp or a 2-week golfing, or let them do extra lessons. But the way they explained it to me is with that type of I know, swimming, whatever it is, you tend to do the camp and then you're back at school and you're fully focused on that and whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas with gaming, it's ongoing the whole time. Like every night you're practicing, and therefore it was very difficult to juggle it. And so I made the decision that it was better for him to be homeschooled. So despite the fact that he was at one of the top independent schools in the country, and I'd gone to so much trouble to get him there, and he'd been in like private education since he was 3. I made the decision that I wanted to give him the opportunity, and the fact that you can go back and do education at a later stage.
Yep.
I'd gone back to not uni, but college to do like Btech in computing and do my Cisco stuff. Like in my, I don't know, probably late 40s or whatever. There's nothing to stop you from going back and doing education. And the thing with gaming, and especially Fortnite, the opportunity was there now.
Yep.
And you've got to seize the day and take that opportunity.
Yeah. Amazing. That's so awesome for you, as a parent making that decision, because like you said earlier, as we were growing up, we were like, you go to school, you go to college, then but things have changed so much, just with the way kids are learning, with the tools that are out there today, that you see Benjy had this great opportunity, and like you said, the window is window is not open for very long for at that level.
Yeah.
And go ahead later down
I
the
mean,
road.
if you decided to say, okay, you have to stay at school, you can do it when you're 18. The opportunity is not going to be there when you're 18.
Right. Yeah.
And I always struggled. I mean, even before that, Benjy was doing a lot of gaming, so therefore he was tired in the mornings.
Yeah.
I mean, I was quite often phoning up the school saying, he's sick today, maybe he's not coming in or whatever.
Yeah.
Can't come in. But and then what I would have to do, fortunately, one of the companies I was working for part-time was Tutor Doctor. So Tutor Doctor has tutors that come out to your house, and whether for all age groups, whether it's for like primary trying to learn reading, writing, or whatever, or entrance exams, or like GCSE A levels that you have in the UK or whatever. So because I was doing part-time recruitment for them, they were able to help me find tutors that actually came to the house.
Yeah.
So yes, I even before I took him out for homeschooling, he was already having extra lessons at home to keep up with the work that he was missing because he was too tired when he was in school because
Yeah.
he was gaming.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And now, when you went to the school and said, "Yeah, Benji's, he has this potential here," did the school look
Mm.
at you like, "What kind of a parent are you? Are you, you crackers doing this?" Or were they open to that? Sort of like,
No, they had no concept
yeah,
whatsoever. They had no concept of if I'd gone to him and said, he's going to be a tennis player,
mm-hmm,
or, he's just qualified for some golfing tournament, the
yep,
Masters or something, junior
yeah,
Masters, then it would have been fine.
mm-hmm,
But esports is completely, and even even today, I don't really think they really acknowledge the fact of his achievements,
yeah,
even now, sort of like, and where he's actually got to, because the whole philosophy, parents send their children to that school because they want them to get into the top universities. They're going to be the doctors,
yeah,
all, those careers, the traditional careers, stockbroker or whatever it is. Um, to actually say, okay, someone's actually gaming. Parents don't support that
yeah,
and things these days, unfortunately.
yeah. No, it's because of the stigmatism. They just think video games
Yeah.
are a waste of time. But now, with we're seeing. I think now we're starting to see sort of people opening eyes, and there's organizations and things to help parents become aware of the potentials in for young kids to have a career, whether it's competitive gaming or all of the things that go around that, whether it's just streaming, YouTube creation, things like that.
That's it. There is a whole ecosystem around and one of the things like the British Esports Association that I was involved in for a while is like, and they teamed up with the Btech, which is a company that does qualifications in the UK.
Mm-hmm.
And so they've done a specific Btech course in esports, which is like for a junior. So you've got like for 14 to 16
Oh
year
wow.
olds and then 16 to 18-year olds. And it's very much, it's like a lot of children don't engage in school because they don't enjoy the subjects, for
Yeah.
example. So like my older son wasn't that keen on school or
Yeah.
whatever. His passion then became music
Mm-hmm.
and like jazz guitar and everything and whatever. So it wasn't until he sort of like really discovered that and, focused on that he didn't miss any school. He was happy to go in because he was engaging
Mm-hmm.
in something he was really passionate about, and then went on to university and got like, his first in jazz guitar, and that's what he's doing. But the like if you can find something that your child can engage in, and there, like even with the Btech, there are so many transferable skills that you can use. It's like a foundation for a stepping stone for
Yep.
other things to find out what they want to do.
Yeah.
Because there is, I mean, you can work in esports in so many different fields, as you say. So it's just getting them engaged and finding something that makes them want to learn.
Yeah. And we're starting to see, I know over here in the last few years, esports we're seeing it in, middle schools and high schools and
Mm,
colleges. Colleges are having, teams that people are getting
yeah.
recruited for, which I think is wonderful, because prior to this, if you weren't, like an athlete going to these colleges or universities, you weren't really
Mm,
a part of, you couldn't be a part of a team per se, wear the
yeah.
school colors. And now we're there, which I just think it's great for the kids.
Yeah. Yeah, very much so. I mean, obviously, I work with COPE, which is the Coalition of Parents in Esports, and Shae and Chris and that do a lot with the colleges over in America. I'm not so familiar with it, but you can join the teams, can't you? And there's also scholarships that you can get for esports now, etc. within those. So yes, they work quite a lot with that.
Yeah. Now, are you seeing similar things over there? Not so much in colleges and universities, but just the schools having more tournaments and sort of things opening up for the gaming.
I mean, I personally am not like, I know some of my people I play with sort of like are doing esports, the Btech esports, etc. And they're in like Valorant teams, or and then they compete in sort of like leagues and things. So they are out there, but I don't think it's quite the same as it is in America yet. But it is starting to get that way.
Well, that's good. And now, over the years, when Benjy was doing the competitive Fortnite, what were some of the toughest things to sort of deal with and manage?
Just things, not being able to plan anything.
Yeah.
That was, I think, probably one of the hardest things. Actually, you know, all of a sudden, he would say, "Oh, I need to be in." I'm going to Frankfurt for a boot camp for a month next week. It's like, okay,
Yeah.
well, you know, sort of. So it's just that sort of like, and then I get him to Frankfurt, and then this was in the days of MMB, Mongo, Mitro, and Benjy. So they all decided to go to Frankfurt, and then they're there for a week, and no, I want to come back now. But it's just like I've got to put everything on hold because I need. At the age of 15, I didn't want them going there on their own, in the house for a month. So it's like I need to find chaperones, or I need to go partly there. I've got to take time off work. I've got, you know. So it's not being able to plan things.
Yeah.
I think, and then just all the management side and just everything that goes behind the scenes of running a business. Yeah.
Oh, wow. And now, looking back, knowing what you know now, I know that really doesn't help then, but would you have done things any different?
No.
Yeah.
No, I wouldn't have done anything any different. No.
And now, over the past years, as a mom or as a parent, what have been some of your proudest moments you look back and you were really happy for Benjy?
Of Benjy, obviously qualifying for World Cup.
Yeah.
Yeah, just like just the success that he had. So like he was really good at sort of like the solo tournaments, the whole MMB, you know, obviously it was, I mean, they had amazing results. Sadly, the FNCS result didn't go quite as they wanted. But doing the like Epic Games sent down, and they did the player profile video and stories from the battle bus. So like Beth and her team came over to do that. And then just the success that he's had, the streaming.
Yeah.
He does so well. And even now, sort of, I was very sad at the time when he told me that he wanted to quit Fortnite, or he was quitting Fortnite and going full-time Valorant. So, but yeah, so he's sort of like starting afresh and trying to become pro now in Valorant and sort of like, yeah.
And as a parent, it's such a great feeling when you see your child be successful, isn't it? It's just something you just hope the best for, and it's
that's all we want for our children, is for them to be happy and them to be successful and do what they enjoy doing. It's like my old son Charles is just going into, or just decided, he's always been into cooking, massively into cooking. I don't. But massively, he'll cook everything from scratch.
Yeah.
You know, I just get something and bung it in the oven, sort of. But the so he is now just going into a new business making chili sauce.
Oh, very cool.
So he's now developing the recipes, creating his branding, and everything, and then sort of like planning on selling that at the markets, and is networking to find things. So yeah, he's really passionate about that. at the moment. So finding something that they enjoy and they really want to do and whatever. Yeah.
Because I've got 3 children. 2 are in their 20s now. My youngest, she's in her lower teens. But when they finish school or get to that age, it's very tough, and it's such a big challenge for them at 17 or 18 to figure out what they want to do. So it may take, like, Charles in his 20s. Oh yeah, he's found his niche. Whereas Benjy was like, yeah, he's into the gaming, and at his age. So it's nice to see when your kids figure themselves out.
And very much so. And the other thing that I really enjoy is because my community and the people a lot of the people that I play with are much younger. So like they're 15 to 18 mainly.
Yeah.
A lot of the players that I actually play with. And so therefore you actually get to know them because I'm chatting with them, I'm duoing with them, playing games with them, and actually being able to mentor them because a lot of them don't know what they're doing. So you can make suggestions or give them sort of like advice.
Yeah.
One of the people that I know really well, Scott, who's now 18, 19 this year, but he's been traveling with me. So he started off as a mod. And then obviously we've been chatting across the last couple of years or whatever. And now he travels with me to the events because he wanted to get into photography and videography. So therefore he's been coming and doing the filming while I'm away.
Oh, awesome.
At the various trips and things and whatever. And now he's started to think, okay, this is what I want to do as a career, and sort of like started to get extra gigs from other organizations and things like that. So it's really nice to see things like that happening and whatever.
Yeah. And now, when did the book come into play? When did you, like, after Benjy was successful, you figured things out? Was that the motivation for the book, or how did that all start?
No, it was, I think I said when I left my job, and it was during like the COVID sort of era sort of thing. And we were at home, and I was talking to Johnny about different things I could do. And one of the things that Johnny had always wanted to do was to write a book. And so it came about with a conversation with him. So there's 2 books. There's one that I wrote, which is about Benjy, which is called Let's Go. So it's from his very early days right the way through to I don't know, 2021, I think December 2021. And then the other book is co-authored with Johnny, which is about Build It Like Benjyfishy, Mr. Savage. And it's about just aimed at parents and aspiring pro players to get them to understand what the whole industry is about. So all the various topics that go into that. So, I mean, it was an exciting project. I mean, it took a long time, about 18 months to do. 15 months or 18 months.
And I heard,
very proud of it.
I heard Reddish is actually featured or has a couple of pages.
Reddish is in there, yes. So yeah, we did interviews with different people. So like 100 Thieves Energy, sort of Jesus, and sort of like coaches. Btech is in there, who's been.
All right, so now let's talk about your gaming career. So, prior to playing Fortnite, did you play any other video games, or Fortnite was your really first jump into video gaming?
Yeah, I've never been into gaming. I've never been into gaming at all. So the only 2 games that I played, in fact, really the only game I've really played is Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy.
Yeah.
Which was a text-based game. So, completely different.
Oh,
absolutely. It's just a story, and it's just text.
Yeah.
It says it is dark, and then you have to type. Sort of. So I played that, and then when my Charles was younger, he had an N64, and he was trying to do Banjo-Kazooie. So I think he was probably only about 4 or 5 at the time or something. So I helped him with that. But when I say I helped him, I mean, I did used to stay up and sort of like, if he was trying to do a different level, try and get the level for him or something. But I was never actually really good at it. Sort of
Yeah.
like he was the one doing the game, and I was just trying to help and sort of like tell him what he's got to do. You got to go and get these stars and do that and sort of. And I played it a little bit, but
Mm-hmm.
my skills on controller and whatever is not good. So yes, Fortnite is pretty much the first game I have ever played, which is why it's so hard because I've never come from a gaming background.
Yeah. And what made you want to pick up the controller or mouse and keyboard to, fire it up and play?
So that goes back to Benjy did something called PogChamps 3. PogChamps 3, yeah, which is a chess tournament. So he got invited to that, and he then got a coach. So he got Ludwig Hammer, who is a grandmaster from Norway,
Oh,
and
okay.
sort of second to Magnus Carlsen, who's the world champion. So for about 8 weeks, he was having coaching, online coaching. So they would stream it. I don't know, an hour and a half every night for about 8 weeks, and then sort of like all the various matches and everything. But Hammer also, although I mean his main job is like casting chess and things like that, whatever,
Yeah.
in Norway. But he also played Fortnite. So quite often after the stream had finished, he would carry on streaming and then play some Fortnite. And it was like the first time I'd seen a non-pro play Fortnite, particularly.
Yeah.
Because I'd only ever watched pro players who are just insanely good.
Yeah.
It's just, and so obviously he wasn't quite as good as them because he's just a normal person. I mean, he's still good. He's still better than me. Still way better than me. And he was, I don't know, grinding to get to champs. So I thought, okay, why not give it a go?
Yeah.
So it was him that inspired me to have a go. So then, it was the sand season, which was chapter 2, season 5.
Mm-hmm.
So all I did was basically just hide in the sand. And then managed to get to champs. And then it sort of snowballed from there,
Oh,
really.
wow. Now, what was the hook Fortnite had on you to, make you want to grind and play this, this video game?
Anyone that knows me will tell you that I'm quite competitive.
Okay.
So I am competitive. So the first goal was I wanted to get to champs.
Yeah.
So that was as a solo, get to champs, which I succeeded to. So that was the first goal. I like setting myself goals. So
Yeah.
I think it's the competitive side.
Yeah.
It's 100% the competitive side that I want to compete in the tournaments and do well.
Yeah. And this is this is full build mode. They didn't have the no
Yeah.
builds like they did, they started last year.
Yeah. No, it's build mode. Yeah. I mean, I can't build hiding in bushes, but yeah. It's build mode.
And now what was, when you hit that, that personal goal of, winning your first tournament, it's like, all right, I'm good, or you had a hunger for more. You just wanted to keep playing.
Well, I don't know whether I've never won a tournament as such. But yes, I got to champs. And then it's just really the constant improvement that I'm trying to get to. So I'm trying to get to be reasonably good at Fortnite, which I'm not. 2 years down the line, I'm still not good at it, but we are improving slowly every day.
Yeah.
And I get very frustrated that I'm not improving as fast as I want to improve.
Yeah.
Even though I'm spending maybe 8 or 10 hours a day playing Fortnite, trying to improve on mechanics and aim and sort of like it's a bit like I could sit there and spend a whole year trying to do something, side jumps, which I can't do.
Yeah.
But I could spend a whole year doing it, and Benjy would come and do it like instantly.
Yeah.
I used to play the piano years ago, and my brother is insanely good at the piano. And again, I would sit down and 6 months try and learn something, and he would come and sight read it better than I could in that 6 months. It's very frustrating.
Yeah.
But Yeah, I get very down, and that I'm not as good, but everyone keeps telling me, look, they've had 3 years longer than you at doing it, so, and they've come from a gaming background, which I haven't,
Yeah.
so it will just take time.
Are you having fun though?
I am, yeah.
Good.
Yeah, no, I am.
That's good. And now, when no builds came, did you give a crack at that? Try that? Was that fun, or you really just enjoyed doing the build modes?
I just enjoy build mode.
Yeah.
I mean, yes, unfortunately, I mean, there are more tournaments now with no builds. I've never really got into majorly no builds, but
Yeah.
I'm like DreamHack is no builds and things like that and whatever. And there are more and more tournaments that are combined no builds and builds. So I am sort of like trying to learn that meta
Yeah.
now, sort of thing. So,
All right.
but my aim isn't brilliant, so therefore that is a bit of a challenge.
Yeah.
So.
Absolutely. And now, what made you hit the go live button to want to stream?
Actually, I don't know. I mean, Benjy was streaming.
Yeah.
I mean, Charles said he didn't think that I could stream. Maybe that was the deciding fact. I
Yeah.
mean, I just thought it would be quite good fun to actually have a go at streaming or
Yeah.
something or whatever. So yeah.
And now, when you first hit that go live button and people started coming in to chat,
hmm
you already saw that community probably build around Benjy.
Yeah, my first stream was pretty mental, really. So my streaming career is probably not the normal,
Yeah.
because most people, you just have a few viewers or something like that, don't
Yeah.
you? And then you sort of have time to sort of build up your streaming career.
Mm-hmm.
My first stream, I did a test stream the night before, and I didn't promote it at all. Literally didn't promote it. Didn't want anyone literally didn't want anyone in there. And there was like about 200 people or something
Holy cow.
for about half an hour. And then I stopped it. I just wanted to see sort of thing. And then the day when I decided I wanted to go streaming, I was literally so nervous the entire day. I was sort of like bricking it the whole
Oh
time.
no.
But that first stream, I had 13,000 people watching.
Holy crap.
So it was like, it's not your normal stream that you have. And I didn't have any mods.
Oh dear Lord.
I think someone said to Benjy, how could you let your mum go live without any mods on the first stream? But I can't think who said that, but maybe Motor or something. But and so therefore I was getting all the various
Mm-hmm.
pawn symbols coming up
Yeah.
and everything. So then it was like, oh, I've got to find some mods. And I didn't know how to mod people, so I had to stop the stream and then restart it again once I discovered how to put mods on. And then people also, what I didn't appreciate was like try to trick you into saying things that you're not meant to say.
Yeah.
So like I had people coming in, it was like so stressful. People going,
Oh
you've
my
just
God.
said this word that you're not supposed to say and everything. I'm like,
Ugh.
but I haven't said it. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I then had to get a lesson from Benjy as to how to say someone's name or something like
Yeah.
that, or whatever. So
Oh
yeah,
dear
it
Lord.
was quite stressful.
And now, when did you find a groove? Was it like, take a couple of weeks or a month before you're like, all right, I got this. This is fun now. This is not stressful.
It wasn't that I don't really remember, to be honest. It's sort of like, because initially I wasn't doing face cam, and
Mm-hmm.
then I think after about a week or so I went for face cam or whatever. I don't know. It just came natural because I'd already come from like a training background, so
True.
I had actually stood up and taught people how to train, on the various computer packages and things.
Yeah.
So it seemed to go quite naturally, really.
Yeah. Well, that's good. And
Except my Fortnite skills are pretty bad, which people find very fun.
but that builds your community, though, right? That's like
Yeah.
people come in and just,
Yeah.
it's, to be.
Yeah, I mean, I have a lot of people coming back now saying, I watched it at the beginning and you've improved quite a lot. So,
Yeah.
so that's quite nice to see.
Well, and that's one of the nice things about, being a streamer is, you you don't necessarily need to be like the best of a game. It's, you know, your
Mm,
personality, it's the community, people coming in, feeling
yeah,
comfortable and hanging out, and you getting to know
yeah,
people in your community and them getting to know you.
yeah, yeah, very much so. Yeah, yeah. I love the community sort of side of it,
Yeah.
etc. Yeah.
And now, how would you describe if somebody's coming into your stream for the first time? What kind of experience are they going to get?
It's just pretty chilled. I mean, I like talking to. It depends on what I'm doing. So if I'm doing like um competitive sort of side, then I tend to sort of spend more time. Like obviously, I'm trying to focus. I'm trying to qualify for a particular tournament,
Yeah.
etc. So therefore, I'm not necessarily going to read chat so much. But sort of, I sort of like weekends and sort of like some of the evenings, I will do like community games or viewer games where I'm playing with viewers or just doing solos and then sort of like chatting to them. So that's what I enjoy. It's a lot easier to just like do solos and like chat to you,
Yeah.
and sort of like
And
chat. So pretty chilled, really.
now, do you prefer to play solo or with duos or a team?
I actually quite enjoy solos.
Yeah.
Funny enough, I mean, I enjoy duos. It depends who I'm playing with, really. So whether they're going to keep with me, a lot of trios,
Yeah.
especially on the tournaments, because I can't keep up with the other players. They tend to, it tends to be more a duo and a solo, so to
Mm-hmm.
speak. So they're going off fragging and getting all the limit, and I'm just trying to follow behind them.
Yeah.
And from me trying to actually improve at the game, being able to still do solos and actually fight people if I'm going to learn how to fight better or sort
Yeah.
of like improve, even if it's bots.
Yeah.
And I enjoy eliminating bots. I don't care that they're bots
Yeah.
because it's all just it's just more practice for
Yeah.
me. So I actually do a lot of solos, but yeah, duos and trios I quite enjoy as well. Squads I'm not so keen on.
Yeah. And now, do you normally roll with a particular group of people, or sort of like, you know, when schedules line up, that's, you know, that's who you roll with?
Um, yeah, I mean, I do have sort of like a small group of people that I sort of tend to play with and whatever sort of thing. But they, like I have my duo J and like, I have several of the regular people that are in my chat that I sort of tend to play with, etc. Yeah,
Okay. I saw that you're a member of the GXR.
I am. Yeah, I'm with Galaxy Racer. Yes, yes,
And how did that come
yeah.
about?
I was doing a tournament back a couple of years ago, and I was approached by them to see whether I might be interested to actually join them. So, and then obviously we had discussions
Yeah.
and negotiations, and I'm with Stellars. So Oliver's my agent, so he did, was looking at various organizations for me. So yeah,
That's pretty
came about
cool.
that way. It is. It's pretty cool. Yeah.
Were you excited when, you know, when you got word, yeah, hey, we want to, you know,
Oh my
work
God,
out?
yes. Yeah, no, that was very exciting.
Nice.
Yes, yes. And being able to travel and do the tournaments and everything has been pretty cool. Yeah.
Absolutely. And now, from a streaming standpoint, any advice would, you know, what kind of advice would you give somebody looking to, you know, hit that go live button?
Just go and do it. Sort of thing. Just try. I mean, really you've got to have fun yourself and enjoy it yourself. So if you're enjoying it and having fun doing it, then people coming and watching it will have fun. If you're um and if you can try and do face cam as well, because that's sort of like, I know that's really hard for a lot of people, but it sort of it makes it more engaging. People can sort of see you and you can sort of like engage more with them, etc. So but yeah, just give it a go, really, sort of thing.
And now, what have you know? What has been your highlights since you hit that go live button and started competing, you know, in Fortnite tournaments?
Highlights, it has to be like the so I recently, Epic Games gave me the in-game
Oh
Mamabenjyfishy
wow!
Creator Cup. So that and having the locker bundle
Yeah,
just recently, sort of last month, that has to be one of the main highlights, etc. Yeah.
That's awesome. And now, going back to the question about, you're not your normal streamer from how your path started to
Mm.
where you are now. What was your Twitch partner story? When did you find out? And, were you excited and when you got word that you made partner, or was like, all right, it was kind of going to be there because of the instant following you had?
I think, yeah, it came about slightly differently, but yes, it was, because sort of like partly because I was getting so many viewers at the beginning, etc. Whatever, but yeah, getting partner was quite. I remember sort of like going on and all of a sudden sort of like seeing the tick and whatever. So
Yeah.
yeah.
Awesome. And now with being, competitive player and, being successful on stream, you've been able to do some traveling Twitch cons and
Mm.
other tournaments. What's been some of the traveling highlights that you've done?
I love going. Yeah, I love going to all the events and meeting the people. I mean, I've been very fortunate that originally I was traveling with Benjy.
Mm-hmm.
So like going to the various DreamHack and World Cup, etc. And then the Melbourne, the Australian Open we went to with Benjy. And then for me then to be able to compete in the various DreamHacks that have been going on. So Sweden, and then last year going to like rally for the FNCS Invitational,
Mm-hmm.
Saudi, etc. So yes, I mean, coming up, I've just come back from San Diego and then I'm going to Dallas in June. There's Dallas, then there's the Edinburgh event, which is the Red Bull contested. And then there is, what else is there after that? I've forgotten now. There's another event after that. I know there's the other DreamHack Sweden, and then there's Saudi in July, and then there's, yeah, so.
That's awesome.
And hopefully one of these days I will actually get to actually compete at a LAN. That would be my next goal.
Okay.
That would be my goal.
And now it must be really neat to see, first traveling with Benjy when he was successful in doing these tournaments, and now it's sort of like it's flipped over to you. Now you're, hey, that's Mamabenjyfishy.
I know, it is a bit insane. Yeah, it is a bit insane, yes. And sort of like, yes, I mean, just meeting all the players and the gamers that are out there and sort of etc. has been an incredible experience.
Yeah.
And
Did you ever think this would be your path, when you first started down that road?
No, not at all. No. It was the first thing from my mind. I would never have expected me to be playing Fortnite and traveling or doing any of those sort of things. It was always like Benjy or Charles or whatever sort of thing. So yeah, it never even crossed my mind that I would be doing it. I was just like the parent behind the scenes, sort of like trying to help out where I can, etc.
And now friends in your town, do they have any concept of this, or they just think, holy you're doing this with video? No,
they've got no concept. Like my friends, my friends, peer group, they've got no understanding whatsoever as to any of it. I might talk to them and I might as well be talking Japanese, as far as, and I spoke to someone the other day and they said, in one thing, the generation gap has missed me because I can still talk to like teenagers and understand what they're talking to and things like that. And they come into my chat and say different things and, and then they say, "Oh, you understand what I'm saying," sort of thing. Yeah, it's quite funny.
Oh, that's excellent. And now, when you're not playing Fortnite and streaming, what do you do away from the computer?
Pretty much doing that the whole time, to be honest. It's actually really hard trying to go pro in Fortnite or whatever, which is what I'm trying to do. I mean, the only other, obviously, I finished the books that I'm doing.
Yeah.
I'm doing a project at the moment, whereby, so let's go back. So my parents sadly passed away recently, and one of the things, like when you do a eulogy or, do service, is that you go back and you think, Actually, I don't really know that much about them,
Mm-hmm.
their past history. And that then sort of led me to sort of partly because I've done the book on Benjy as well. So, like, when he's older, he can look back and,
Right.
it goes right the way through. But if you actually said to like Charles and Benjy, where did I meet David, or David's background,
Yeah.
or obviously they were very young at the time when Benjy was only 8 months old and Charles was 7.
Oh, wow.
Even like when did I go to school, or where do I go to school, and like, where did I work? They wouldn't have a clue.
Yeah.
So I'm actually wanted to put another book together for them on like our background and like my parents and David's parents and everything. So what I'm doing to start with is, with the help of Scott, who's been traveling with me, is going to a lot of my friends, and we're doing video recordings of their memories of David. Because
Wow.
a lot of them David was 15 years older than me.
Mm-hmm.
So a lot of his friends are like mid-70s now.
Yeah.
Some of them are starting to get Alzheimer, sort of, etc. So their memories going and things. So being able to capture those memories and the history before it's lost.
Yeah.
Even like I've been going through this morning a whole load of photos. Some of those photos I've absolutely no idea who the people are,
Yeah.
but the idea is to get them scanned in, and then hopefully there'll be people who are still around that could tell me who
Yeah.
who are in those photos, etc. And so what I want to do is to do a video to start with of my life, David's life, etc. and sort of getting Scott to do like B-roll shots, sort of like, so when I say, I went to this school, you
Mm-hmm.
can actually, and then use that as the basis to then create another book
Oh,
of
cool.
like life first, and then for future generations, because my dad was always into genealogy
Mm-hmm.
in a big way. But again, a lot of his things well, I say lost, but sort of, he spent like 50, 60 years going back on things,
Oh,
but
wow.
I haven't got access to that. So it'd be quite nice just to put something sort of together
Yeah.
that in format, on video and book form. So that is really probably going to take me the next 2 years or something, I know, 18 months or something to do.
Oh, that's gonna be great though when it's all done and there's
Mm.
something solid that they can go back and read and learn.
Yeah. Yeah, sort of like I thought of doing like each chapter, sort of like you could do a little bit of a family tree, just going back like a couple of
Mm-hmm.
generations, and then sort of like a bit of a story, and then put a few pictures in, like, so they've got the grandparents and, etc.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Awesome.
I mean, I found some pictures today which are David's grandparents that I've never seen before. I wouldn't have even known who they were.
Yeah.
So it's quite cool.
That's awesome. Excellent. All right. So you finished the podcast.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for coming. Before I let you go, now you have to shout out to somebody who you think might have a good story to come on the pod.
We've already done Reddish. I
Yeah.
think
Well,
you've
we're
already
lining
done
up. Yeah,
Reddish.
she's
So
coming on soon. Yes.
yeah. Um, so my original duo, so Girly Bella
Okay.
would be pretty cool.
Awesome.
But also people like Motor. So I watch Motor a lot, or Coach Boop, someone like that.
Excellent.
Some of those. Yeah.
Cool. All right. Well, Anne, thank you so much. It was wonderful to meet you, and I really appreciate you sharing your story.
That's okay. My pleasure. Thank you so much for having me. Thank you. Appreciate it.